Finna be there.
Yeah, that's
That don't make no sense.
That's crazy.
He don't never want to see nobody be better than him. I'm telling you.
You was next in line. This was you next in line.
Is there like a
And last question, guys.
is there like a love-hate for Floyd though? Like you love the fighter?
Yeah, I love the fighter. Like, I ain't gonna lie, if he was like chill, like he'll be the smoothest, but he's not. You know what I mean? He's a great fighter. And my bad.
You're good, man.
And he
Outfield is
cause I don't want to say like he's just a scumbag, but it's like he's a great fighter, and sometimes he can be good, but it's like it's always I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. And
Gervonta Davis has responded to Floyd Mayweather's accusations about him supposedly fixing fights. While Davis didn't directly insult Mayweather, he made it clear how he feels by saying, "I don't want to call him a scumbag." Their relationship seems to be getting worse, and the tension between them continues to grow.
Pretty rigged overall.
It's rigged, dude. I mean, so many politics, even with, MMA, man, there's so many politics. There's no more art anymore. It's just, let's get an influencer in there. I get it. It's like generating money because our attention span is so short. You look at clips now, it's like 7 seconds. I saw a dude slamming a lady the other day, and they were like, oh my God, that dude is, I'm like, well, do. I'm just gonna pick somebody and slam them. Where's the whole video? And our attention span is just so small. So money talks, of course. Yeah, let's get an influencer in there who has no style, but it draws.
Many people in boxing believe that the sport is deeply influenced by politics, with decisions often being made based on anything but the fighter's skills. Fans and experts have raised concerns about unfair judging, biased promotions, and even fixed outcomes. The sport's credibility is now being questioned more than ever, making it harder for truly talented fighters to shine.
Floyd outdoing him. He always been like that. You know what I mean? So I gotta focus on what I'm focused on. He already did what he had to do, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Me, if I did what I like what he did in the sport, I ain't gonna lie, I'd be the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't fault him for stand to himself and things like that. You know what I mean? But it's also a part of me type thing, like come back and help too. You know what I mean? So it's much love to the whole Mayweather promotion. You know what I mean? Ain't no bad blood type shit. And a lot of people think when I be tweeting on Instagram, I be mad. I just be talking.
Gervonta Davis has recently shared his thoughts on his past with former mentor Floyd Mayweather, shedding light on the complicated nature of their relationship. Davis said Mayweather used specific strategies when managing fighters, often setting up situations to benefit himself. "He did what he did, I'm just focused," Davis commented. "He's always been like that, and I'll do what I'm going to do."
Gervonta Tank Davis isn't a prize fighter. I know a lot of you guys say, well, he doesn't fight for belts, he doesn't fight for legacy, he fights for money. He's a prize fighter, Jerry. And I'm gonna assume a prize fighter is a guy who is solely making fights based off of cash reward. He'd rather fight a bum for 50 million than fight a guy who's experienced for 10 million. That is what a prize fighter would be. Actual definition, a professional boxer who competes in matches for money prizes. So let's take a look at it. Turki Al-Sheikh has declared he wants to make Tank versus Shakur. He says, my plan for Shakur is this fight. He's referring to Floyd Schofield, then Williams Zepeda, and then let's see if Tank wants to be in our show. Tank's not going to fight Shakur. He's not going to fight him in Saudi Arabia. So now that we've established Tank isn't a prize fighter, because if he was, his career resume would look a whole lot different, then we must ask, what is Tank's goal in boxing? I'll tell you right now, it's easy money. Tank is the type of guy, he'd rather fight, let's say, 4 Lamont Roaches for 20 million than fight 1 Shakur Stevenson for 80 million, which is fine. But I'm tired of people saying, oh, he's a prize fighter, that's why he's not taking these fights. He's not a prize fighter. The biggest money fights is Haney, Ryan, Tio, Shakur, and Loma. He's not even going to take half of those fights. So please, guys, all my Tank fans, all my guys who claim Tank is a prize fighter, that's why he's not fighting for the belts, please stop it. This guy's not a legacy fighter. He's not a prize fighter. He's just a guy who enjoys easy paydays. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. Just stop misleading people with your comments.
In boxing, the term prize fighter is used for athletes who prioritize making money over building a strong legacy or a solid fight record. Gervonta Davis has been seen by some as fitting this description, focusing more on earning big paydays than taking on challenging opponents. Critics argue that this kind of mindset leads to hand-picking easy opponents to ensure wins and big earnings, which might hurt the sport's competitive fairness.
Barclays Center on Saturday night with a majority draw against Lamont Roach.
Watching the fight, watching the punch, I think he's surprising. I think he's surprising with the punch, and he hit him in the wrong spot, the wrong place, and they caught him by surprise, and they called him to go down.
Regardless, when you take a knee, if you go back and look at when Floyd Mayweather fought Cruz, I think what was it, 2001, and he hit him on the button and hurt his hand, and he took a knee, and they started the 10 count. Yeah, you can't take a knee.
You know, boxing is about, moving around, and there was a point where Tank and Roach decided, you know what, we tired right now. We finna sit here in the pocket and we finna bang. Boy, them boy was throwing, boy.
Roach came up. Roach normally fights at 130. He came up to 135.
Hey, listen, they got a rematch. They got a rematch. That fight was good. And obviously I've seen a lot of boxers come out and say, Tank lost. When I looked at the scorecard, I think maybe going into round 7, maybe 7 or 8, maybe 7, I think Tank was up on the scorecard. The styles make fights, and Lamont Roach's style made that fight what it is. And he made no mistakes too, all night.
Tank hit him with a couple of good shots, but Roach didn't move. Tank would catch him, he would counter him right back. Hey, that jab, he kept him up off him. He didn't back down. And normally Tank starts slow, comes on. Roach said, I'm here to stay.
I'm not sure what kind of conditioning Lamont Roach did, but whatever it is, I salute him. Everybody gets tired after round 7 and on, but his condition was up to par. They went to war all 12 rounds.
I thought Roach won the fight. I thought even without the knockdown, I thought he won it. Roach was the more aggressive fighter.
I would like to see them rematch at some point.
What do the numbers say? The pay-per-view numbers are going to tell you if people want to see a rematch. Because if they came out and bought the fight, yeah, they'll get a rematch. If they didn't do the numbers.
Sports analysts Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp recently discussed the fight between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach. They strongly believed that Roach did enough to win. While they acknowledged Davis's ability to land clean, powerful shots, they pointed out that Roach also delivered powerful punches, some even stronger. Their analysis raises questions about the fairness of the judges' scoring and what criteria they use to decide the winner.
And should it have been a disqualification?
Look, it could have easily been a disqualification too, or a referee stops contest, because look, there's no way a fighter could take a timeout and go get his, during the round. There's no way a fighter could say, okay, timeout, because he took a knee like a timeout kind of thing, and walk to his corner to wipe his face. That's fucking unheard of and never seen before. There's no way that's legal in boxing. It shouldn't have. When a fighter, we just seen it recently with Espinosa and Rubesis. Rubesis got hit with the right hand, and then he walks back and walks away, and the ref right away wiped it up.
That happened with Lara versus Angulo.
Exactly. It's over. It's over. So Tank doing that, took a knee. It should have right away. The ref should have started, counting as a knockdown. But he still walks away to his corner. I'm actually, surprised that the ref didn't call it a knockdown, because he's a really good ref.
Willis is a really good ref.
Willis is a great ref, one of the best in boxing right now, and that was a big mistake. He should have counted as a knockdown. Like I told you, I wouldn't have been surprised if when he walked away, if he would have just waved it up, because that's walking away from the fight. Because of the odds, during the break, tell the corners to wipe it up. You can't do that when the fight's going on. There's no way, nothing. You can't do that when the fight's going on. You can't time out, take a knee, and walk away. There's just no way. But it is boxing, and a lot of things happen in boxing.
Well-known trainer Robert Garcia also weighed in on the controversial 9th round of the Davis-Roach fight. He argued that referees should step in if a fighter takes a knee without a valid reason, like a low blow. Garcia was surprised that referee Steve Willis didn't call Davis's knee as a knockdown, especially since Willis is usually seen as a skilled official. This brings attention to the importance of sticking to the rules to protect the sport's integrity.
He got to defend his title. He like I said, they both was looking at each other. And then finally, after Tank will be the one to throw the first punch. He felt like he wanted to retain his title. Lamont Roach fought like he was just happy to be there and get the success. He wasn't trying to take the title. He wasn't trying to take the title. And I'm saying that even from the last round, just even the last round, the final 20, 30 seconds of the last round, he wasn't throwing no punches. He looked at him and got caught with a jab. You can't close the show with a guy like that, with a guy like Tank Davis like that. Now, if he'd have had a knockdown or something, like a real knockdown or something, you know, maybe he feeling, but you can't stop until the bell ends. You can't, even if you're being active and slipping and sliding and something, he just standing there looking at him. I don't know. I didn't understand that. I don't understand why fighters sit there and look at each other for a long time. Change the angle. Keep a rhythm in your way. Snap a jab. Do a feint. Ain't no need of you standing there looking at no man for 20 seconds in a fight. That don't make sense. But so I think, like I say, Lamont Roach, he will be kicking himself in the ass that he didn't do more, but grateful that he did enough.
Coach Bernie shared his take on the fight, saying that Gervonta Davis didn't defend his title the way a champion should. He noticed that Lamont Roach fought with more urgency and heart, while Davis seemed satisfied with just going through the rounds. This critique suggests that Davis didn't show the kind of dominance expected from a title holder, which could hurt his reputation in the boxing world.
Gervonta Tank Davis says he took a knee because he got his hair done a few days ago and something dripped into his eyes. Ryan Garcia said that Lamont Roach won that fight. And he continues with, not calling that knockdown is the most wild thing I've ever seen in boxing. That type of stuff makes boxing look bad. And then says, crazy shit, see y'all May 2nd. Terrence Crawford said they robbed that boy and it's crazy. Roach won and that should have been called the knockdown. Let's see what happens. Devin Haney says, I was waiting for the backflip. Even Turki Alashi had something to say about the fight. He said, if you charge people $80 per pay-per-view, you must give them a good card with good production. What are your thoughts? Then Terrence Crawford continues with, some of y'all need to watch Mayweather versus Hernandez and see Mayweather takes a knee because he hurt his hand and it was called a knockdown, not from a punch either. He says, I've never seen someone take a knee and they don't count it as a knockdown. Must have forgot the rules for tonight. And Shakur Stevenson is willing to fight Lamont Roach. But in your honest thoughts, who do you think should have won this fight? Do you believe with the decision as a draw? Or do you think Lamont Roach should have won that fight?
The end of the Davis versus Roach fight left many professional boxers and analysts shocked and disappointed. Some called it one of the most controversial decisions in recent boxing history, arguing that the referees and judges didn't follow the rules properly. This highlights concerns about the consistency and fairness of boxing decisions, with many feeling these issues damage the sport's credibility. There's a growing call for reforms to ensure greater transparency and maintain the integrity of boxing.
Ken, what'd you make of the controversy in that one?
Look, I had just finished my recovery session, so I was pretty docile and relaxed, and then the fight, especially at the start of it, wasn't too thrilling and too action-packed, so I was starting to doze off a little bit, but I woke up a little bit more when obviously Lamont started giving him some work, and he looked good, man. I got to give respect to Lamont Roach. He proved a lot of guys wrong. I think he shocked Tank a lot with what he was able to bring, and again, we saw the controversy with the knee. To me, that's a knockdown. You can't just take a knee and decide to, go to your corner and get your face wiped. So, yeah, if that's a 10-8 round, Lamont wins the fight. So it's, unfortunate, but that's the fight game, Hopefully they'll do it again and he gets paid, what he's worth.
Have you ever seen anything like that in boxing before? A guy sort of just voluntarily...
We've seen Floyd take a knee and be put on the count. We've seen Miguel Cotto, take a knee, obviously into his corner, be put on the count. If we're allowed to start taking knees and run to our corners, well, I'm going to start doing it too if I, as soon as I feel something, everyone will start to do it, but it's just not right. You're a warrior. Doesn't matter if there's grease in your eye, a bit of gel in your eye, or whatever excuse you want to use. I've been through wars where there's blood pouring in my eyes. In the Lomachenko fight, blood was pouring. I'm wiping it away. We've seen it with other fighters. We don't get opportunities just to take a knee, go to our corner, wipe us up, and might as well have a coffee and have a laugh and then get back to action. It doesn't work that way.
Former unified lightweight champion George Kambosos Jr. also shared his thoughts on the fight, specifically about the referee's handling of the knee situation. He pointed out that in professional boxing, a fighter can't just take a knee without it being considered a knockdown. Kambosos' comments echo traditional views on boxing rules, and add to the growing demand for stricter enforcement to ensure fairness in the sport.
Davis, GTD, and I don't mean got the draws, went up against Lamont Roach. Let me tell you something. Tank got spanked. Roach should have won. And Tank even dropped to his knee. It should have been called a knockdown. But they let it slide. They said, you know what? He said he had grease in his eye from his braids. But it still should have been counted as a knockdown. Because since it was a unanimous draw, that knockdown would have gave Roach the win.
The main issue of controversy centers on the 9th round when Gervonta Davis took a knee. Many believe this action should have been ruled a knockdown, which would have greatly impacted the judges' scorecards. The failure to call it a knockdown has led to widespread debate about the legitimacy of the fight. This incident has sparked discussions about the need for clearer guidelines and more consistent officiating in future matches.
Change that Gervonta Davis made from previous times that he had been fighting. He made a change in trainers, but he also made a change in the location in which he was training. He went and had Barry Hunter from DC, from a gym called Headbangers in DC as his head trainer, while Calvin Ford and Kenny Smith took a backup role. Gervonta Davis also worked out in Washington, DC. Now, as you know, Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach fought each other in the amateurs. Their teams know each other. The people know each other. They all know each other in the same circle. What was told to me was that Lamont Roach's team knew pretty much what Gervonta Davis was going to do and what his approach was going to be to the fight, because they knew what Gervonta Davis was working on in camp. That because he was in that same area and it was the DC area and Lamont Roach was a DC fighter and Gervonta Davis considered DC his second home, but it's not his second home. There's a big rivalry between DC and Baltimore.
Reports suggest that Gervonta Davis made some significant changes to his training for this fight, including training in Washington, D.C. without his longtime coach, Calvin Ford. This shift allowed Lamont Roach's team to get a look at how Davis was preparing, possibly influencing their game plan. The change in Davis's training approach raises questions about how much a coach and preparation can affect a fighter's performance, as well as whether opponents can take advantage of such changes.
One thing that's kind of baffling is that it wasn't a knockdown. I mean, look, he wasn't hurt. There's no doubt about that. But if you take a knee in the fight and you touch down, whilst punches are being thrown, it has to be a knockdown. I've heard some people saying, oh, that, you know, he should be disqualified. He went back to the corner. I don't buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that's a warning, but it's a bit of a bizarre situation. For me, like, there was a lot of people in boxing that were saying that this is a really tough fight. Like, Lamont Roach is a serious fighter. I said it might not be the biggest profile fight, but it's actually quite a tough fight. And Shakur said to me, like, even the day before, I'm telling you, he's going to have big trouble tomorrow night. And I just feel like hopefully this could be the little something that gives Gervonta a little wake-up call to take him back to the mindset of maybe...
After the fight, there were talks about possibly overturning the result due to the controversial call. However, later reports revealed that the initial article suggesting this...
I'm sorry, but if you're a Gervonta Davis fan, you might want to watch out. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, check this out. Yesterday, Lamont Roach Jr. tweeted out, word on the block, y'all favorite fighter finna be 30-1, not 30-1, two-time two-division champ. And I believe it was Ring Magazine tweeted out that basically the New York Athletic Commission was looking at the fight because the technology was messed up or the technology wasn't available during the fight to actually determine if it was a knee. And before the video goes any further, make sure you hit the follow button. But this is actually insane because technically, if that's counted a knee, he won that fight. In my mind, Lamont still won that fight. I wasn't too mad with the draw, but if you add that knockdown in, which I definitely think it should be counted as a knockdown, then that's a loss on Gervonta Davis's record. And honestly, he didn't earn the win. I thought the draw was okay, but I don't think he earned the win. And the real question that comes up is, do you think the Athletic Commission will actually overturn the fight and give Lamont Roach the win? I'm not too sure about that. I don't know how confident I am in them to actually overturn it, but who knows? Let me know what y'all think in the comments though, because if this gets overturned, this might be one of the biggest stories in boxing this year. And if you haven't already made it to the end of the video, go ahead, hit the follow button. What are we?
Promoter Eddie Hearn offered a different take on the 9th round incident, saying that for a situation to be considered a change
that Gervonta Davis made from previous times that he had been fighting. He made a change in trainers, but he also made a change in the location in which he was training. He went and had Barry Hunter from DC, from a gym called Headbangers in DC, as his head trainer, while Calvin Ford and Kenny Smith took a backup role. Gervonta Davis also worked out in Washington, D.C. Now, as you know, Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach fought each other in the amateurs. Their teams know each other. The people know each other. They all know each other in the same circle. What was told to me was that Lamont Roach's team knew pretty much what Gervonta Davis was going to do and what his approach was going to be to the fight, because they knew what Gervonta Davis was working on in camp. That because he was in that same area and it was the DC area, and Lamont Roach was a DC fighter, and Gervonta Davis considered DC his second home, but it's not his second home. There's a big rivalry between DC and Baltimore.
After the fight, there were talks about possibly overturning the result due to the controversial call. However, later reports revealed that the initial article suggesting this was retracted.
Gervonta Tank Davis isn't a prize fighter. I know a lot of you guys say, well, he doesn't fight for belts, he doesn't fight for legacy, he fights for money. He's a prize fighter, Jerry. And I'm gonna assume a prize fighter is a guy who is solely making fights based off of cash reward. He'd rather fight a bum for 50 million than fight a guy who's experienced for 10 million. That is what a prize fighter would be. Actual definition, a professional boxer who competes in matches for money prizes. So let's take a look at it. Turki Al-Sheikh has declared he wants to make Tank versus Shakur. He says, my plan for Shakur is this fight. He's referring to Floyd Schofield, then Williams Zepeda, and then let's see if Tank wants to be in our show. Tank's not going to fight Shakur. He's not going to fight him in Saudi Arabia. Well, now that we've established Tank isn't a prize fighter, because if he was, his career resume would look a whole lot different, then we must ask, what is Tank's goal in boxing? I'll tell you right now, it's easy money. Tank is the type of guy, he'd rather fight, let's say, 4 Lamont Roaches for 20 million, then fight 1 Shakur Stevenson for 80 million, which is fine. But I'm tired of people saying, oh, he's a prize fighter, that's why he's not taking these fights. He's not a prize fighter. The biggest money fights is Haney, Ryan, Tio, Shakur, and Loma. He's not even going to take half of those fights. So please, guys, all my Tank fans, all my guys who claim Tank is a prize fighter, that's why he's not fighting for the belts, please stop it. This guy's not a legacy fighter. He's not a prize fighter. He's just a guy who enjoys easy paydays. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. Just stop misleading people with your comments.
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates.